So let us see how we can enumerate, or some will say iterate through an object. And I want to believe that you still have the knowledge of your loop. Yes or no, Dimola?
Yes, sir.
Good. So I'm going to open the ID I used for. Okay, so let me copy one object. Let me see any object sample object. Okay, let me just take this. So this is an object, and it has the brand property, model property, storage property, and there is another property. And you can see this property called camera also is an object. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Good. So we want to, if you remember in loop, when you want to loop through an item, let's say this is the beginning of the item and this is the end, and you have maybe 5 items therein. So you start from here, you pick this item, you work on it, right? Then you move to the next one, you pick this item, you work on it. Then you move to the next one, you pick this item, you work on it in your program. Then you move to the next one, you pick this item, you work on it. Then you go get to the last one, you pick that item also, and you work on it. That is basically how loop works, right? So now, I remember that I've taught you the for in loop. If you go back to the past recording where I talked about the for in, the for of, you use the for in to loop through to loop through the properties of an object, whereas you use the for of loop to loop through um, an array. Now, I'm going to try something I never tried before. I never used this for of to loop through an array, and sorry, an object, but I've been using it to loop through an array because this is more convenient for an array, and this is more convenient for an object. We will try the two tonight. So let's say, and remember, where is us? I want to point this out. We have been using the dot notation to access the properties of an object. Now we will try to use the bracket notation as well. As you can see, this allows for more dynamic property access, particularly useful when the property name is stored in a variable or contain special characters. So we are going to use those two tonight. So let's fire on. So now I have an object called the smartphone. Now let us analyze because I like. Hold on, please. Hold on, please. Now I want you to cultivate the habit of doing analysis of your data type first before trying to work on it. Now, this is a data that we have here, and the data structure is an object. And we know that this object has one, two, three, four properties. And this brand property has Apple as its value. Model property has iPhone 13 as its value. Storage property has 128 GB gigabyte as its value. Camera property as an object. You can see this is an object. Mary, can you see what I'm highlighting? Mary is gone again. Okay. So this is an object. It has an object as its own value. So which simply means that once we iterate and we get to this level, we are going to have an object back. And for us to have access to this object, we are going to use the dot notation multiple times. For example, let's say I want to access resolution. All I need to do is call the object dot this property. This property will return me. Let me print it out. Are you there, Demola?
Yes, sir.
Good. So this property camera will give me an object in return. You can see that it's an object, right? And inside this object, I have property resolution with the value 12. I don't know. I've forgotten what they call this MP again. Then feature property, and this feature property has what? An array as what? Its value, right? So that means that if I want to access this resolution, I will use dot resolution again because this is an object, and for me to access this one, I will use a dot notation again. So this time I will say resolution. And if I run it again, you see 12 MP being printed out, right? But if I try to access this feature, if I access feature, tell me what is going to be printed. Demola,
It'll say night mode and portrait mode.
what?
It would say night mode and portrait mode.
And what do you call that? What data structure is this?
That array.
Array, yes. So it will print out and the array. So now if I want to get access to the value of this property, inside this array, since I know that what this is returning, everything like this is returning an array back to me. And how do I get access to an array? I will use a square bracket operator. So I want the first one, which is 0. That's index 0. So that will give me night mode. You can see how I'm able to navigate through this object, right? So if it is portrait mode I want to print out, I will use index one because this is index zero, and this is index one because this is an array, right? So if I run it, you will see portrait mode being printed out. So now let us loop through the properties of this um, object. So if I do for let maybe prop in smartphone, I want to loop through the smartphone, right? Then I will open the code block. So what this is doing is that it will come here, come to the very first one, give um put the value here, I'm sorry, this property here and its value, right? So let us see what we are going to get out. So let's console the log. Always get into the habit of trying to see what is being accessed, all right? So once I run, you will see that now I have brand, model, storage, and camera. So this, just like I said here, it iterates over all the enumerated properties of an what object, right? So now, since I have access to this property and I cannot now, how do I now get access to the value, right? Some will try to do this, right? No, this is a property, right? So some will try to do smartphone dot prop. Let's see what this will give us. Console.log. The log. You can see it's saying undefined, 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 undefined. Why is that so? The simple this the reason is very simple. This is a variable, and you are now using the dot notation on a variable. If you check here, where is that property again? I think I saw it somewhere. Yeah, this one. Yeah, that's this the bracket notation. This allows for dynamic property access, particularly useful when the property name is stored in what? A variable. A variable. So for us to have access to the value, to print out the value, right? We will not use the dot operator. Rather, we use the square bracket as if we are trying to access an array. Now, if I run this now, you will see the values. Apple printed, iPhone 13, 128 gigabyte, and this object. This is the object printed out. Is there any question? Demola,
Yes, sir.
is there any question?
No, sir.
Okay. So now let's say I want to test, right? If what is being returned, what I'm getting out of this smart um, prop, this prop property, what if I want to print out everything, the value, this Apple iPhone 13, 128, then 12 MP, night mode, um, portrait mode, and so on. If I want to print out everything, maybe I should not go through this one tonight because of others. I don't want to go in depth too much. So, but I hope you've understood how you can access the values of an object. Have you? That's the question first.
Yes, sir.
Good. So now, if we assume that let me see, can I get object data sample object data for okay for a patient. Let me see. Hmm. I could have used one API, but I don't want to go there now. You've not reached that level. Sample what's okay. Let's forget about that because I'm trying to see if I can get sample data where we have a collection of students with their various scores. Then we can do some little manipulation with that. Let's go on. Now, if you can recollect under array, let's go to array. Where is that? I think it's after this one. Yes, this one. Where we tested for an array, we use the array. There's a method of the array. Array dot is array. I want to show you. Array dot is array. Um, Array dot is array. You use that to test whether your data type is actually an array. Where is it? I must have gone. This iteration. Every for each math result. No, not this one. Not this one. To reverse. Sorting. Find last. Research. Not this one. Not this one. Not this one. Am I serious? Am I saying I didn't? Aha, yes, I think this is it. The type of, yes. Aha, this is it. Why didn't I highlight it? I mean, let me just do that now. I was busy looking for the highlight anyway. Aha. So you can see that if you use the type of property to test, it will return an object to you. And that is not very useful to us. We want to know if a data is what is an array or not. For us to achieve that, we use the array dot is array method. Now let's go back to the code. Let's see. Let's see. Let's test this one. Let me comment out this one for now, right? Because that test is very, very important. Now, let us access this array again. And for us to do that, we have our smartphone dot this camera, then which is also an object, then dot features. So this should return an array to us. Let us test it. Sorry, print it out to confirm that it is an array before we use that test on it, so that for us to be sure, yes, it is an array. Now, so what is now array dot array dot is array method? What is it doing? It's going to return true or false. If it is an array, it will return true, as you can see. But if it is not an array, let me just remove these features, because camera will return an object. So let's see, this will return false. So we have a way of testing for an array, right? So now, um, um, if I test, okay, type of, if I use type of on this will return true, because okay, yes, yes, this is an object. Yes, type of this type is an object. Now, if I use the same type of on this array, you will see it's going to return an object to us. If I run this, you can see it's an object. And that is the more reason why we don't use type of to test for an array. Rather, we use array dot is array, so that we can know if it is an object or not. Now, let us now use that knowledge in this loop. Let me remove. Now, if I run, let me comment this one out. If I run this again, you will see that I have Apple, iPhone 13, um, what's it called? 128 gig, and then the object. So let's see whether there is a way um, how to test for an object. No, this one is Java. No, let me qualify it in JavaScript. JavaScript. Check if a value is an object. Yes. So now this Stack Overflow is a resource that you should get used to. Now you can see if type of that thing, if it is triple equal to an object, then you do something with it. Now, this is the array we are talking about, right? Now, we want to be sure that it is an object and not an array, right? And we want to be sure that it is not null at the same time. Null means that it's not empty. It has value, right? So let us go back to our code. We can just copy this, right, for easy usage in our code. So if let me just paste it somewhere here and comment it out. Now, here I can say if. Now we are using our if condition. We test for the condition, then we open the block of code. So what are we testing for? I want to test if whatever I'm returning getting, is it an object? So I'm going to say type of. I will copy and paste it here. If the type of prop, what is being returned here, the value, not now, not sorry, I should have copied this one. If this one, if that value, which is apple, if it is not an object, let me first of all test for that. Not, where's the exception? Not an object. And at the same time, array dot this, it is not an array and it is not null. If all those conditions are satisfied, it is not an object, it is not an array. Yeah, it is not. See, can you see this not operator? It is not an array. Then console.log this on the printout. Let me remove this one and see what we are going to get out of this program. Run it. You can see that only the values that is not an array, not an object, got printed out. Is there any question, Demola? Are you with me? I hope I've not lost you.
Yes, sir.
You are okay, right?
Yes, sir.
Good. So you can see that I tested what is coming out of my loop, the value. This value that is coming out, if it is not an object, which apple is not an object, it is a string. Am I right or wrong?
Right.
This apple, what data type is this apple? Hmm?
What do you say?
What data type is this apple? This
String.
good string. So it is a string. It is not an object. It is neither is it an array, and it is not a null. So that is why these three values got printed out. Now, else if I will open the condition again, else if it is an object, if it is equal to an object but not an array, and it is not null. So I want to target this camera. I want to print out what is inside. So I will now do this, print out this item. So let us see what is going to be printed out. You can see now that we have this item. So because this item at this point in time, when it got to this returns an object. So we got this one printed out, right? Better still, let me just use else. I do not need. Okay, let me leave it. No, there's no problem. So now I can now further right? Test for an array inside this, right? So once sorry, I can also now loop through this item, this object inside this one. So I can decide to say to do something like this. Oh, why am I deleting it? I can decide to do something like this because I want to get out the values inside this one too. So for let's crop again. Mind you, this variable can be anything. Okay, let me use my name. Let Tola in smartphone prop. Smartphone prop. Because we are still inside this this loop. So for each of these, I want you to print out console.log, print out the item. Console.log um, smartphone. Then let me see. Like I said, this is the first time I'm trying something like this. So let's run it. And voila. Now we have this, right? The value of this property resolution. Now we have the value of these features, right? So now we are going now to test for an array because my aim is to print out every value. The Apple, iPhone 13, 128 gigabytes, 12 MP, the night mode and portrait. I want to flatten. This is what we call flatten. I want to flatten this data structure. Bring out the values out. All the values. I want to bring it out. So now, since I know that this last one is an array, right? I will say, I will use the conditional statement that if if again condition, this is an array. Where is that array? Okay, let me just type it in. If array dot is array, if this is true, if that is true, then go into this block and print out print out the first. Okay, we need to use console the log in there. I will print out that value. I don't want to loop through this array, right? Since it's just two, so I'm going to just print it one after the other. One, right? Or better still, let me do if not an array first. Let me do this. So let me take this one
Let
out.
me do this. So let me take this one out.
Yes. Just console the log. Mary is back. Let's run it and see. Yes. So you can see that I've been able to print out all the values, the Apple, the iPhone 13, the 128 gigabyte, the 12 MP, the night mode, and the portrait mode. You can see. Now, this is the power of you, first of all, analyzing. You analyze the data structure you have. After your analysis, then and you've understood that data structure, then you can now manipulate or iterate through it and manipulate the data as you wish. But the bedrock is that you need to understand the data structure you are working with. It is super important. Understand the data structure. In this case, the first thing is that I recognize the fact that this is an object, and inside this object, I have a brand property that has a string value. I have a model property that has another string value. I have a storage property that has a string value, and I have a camera property that has an object value as value. So I will need to now go into this object to have access to each of these property again. So once I'm able to access this property, this object here, I know that this property resolution has this string value, and this features property has this array as value. So I need to know how to gain access to this array. And that is what I've done right here. That if you test it, the very first thing, what is coming out of this camera, this object, if it is not an array, then print it out. For example, this 12 MP is not an array, so got printed out here. But by the time it loop into this feature, it saw that this is an array. So because it's an array, and I've used not operator here, it will return false. So it will come down here. Then I was able to print out each of these by accessing the index 0 and index 1, right? So that is how I was able to print out the value of these arrays. And you can see that I have successfully flattened this complex data structure. I flattened it out. So I can do whatever I need to do with this data. Is there any question?
No, sir.
No. Okay. So now I'm going to give, I will stop here because I don't want to go further than this. So I'm going to give an assignment, right? I'm going to give an object. I will share it on the WhatsApp group. I will share it on the WhatsApp group. Now I will make it as complex, if possible, more complex than this. I want to see how you'll be able to bring out the values. You bring out the values. You go in depth, bring out the values. just the way I had done here. Print the values out. I repeat, I will give an object like this. It may not be the same as smartphone because I've treated this smartphone object here. Because you can easily go to the recordings and copy what I've just done, right? So I will give another object, complex object, and I want you to flatten it up. You will bring out the values, all the values during the data item, bring them out and bring them out to the console. Is my assignment clear? Is my assignment clear enough, Demola?
Yes, sir.
Mary, is the assignment clear?
Yes, sir.
Good. All right, we call it a day. All right, thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.